Now, let's be honest, nervousness is something we all feel at some point. Whether you are a pro or not a pro, you get nervous when you get the chance to speak at some point. Now, the real question is, do we learn to overcome nervousness or do we learn to control it? Are we supposed to overcome it and not feel it anymore? Or do we actually have to feel it all the time, but learn how to control it when it comes in? And on today's episode is just fun. It's going to be more special because on Beaver's Avenue today, we have a guest, which we've never had a guest before. We have a very, very special guest that I'm so happy about. And look at it more like having communicators who have had the experience to share also their strategies and what they know to learn more from them. It is not just about me. I teach you, I tell you what I've learned, my experience, but today we are also going to learn from someone else's experience. And this is someone who has been in the communication game for God knows how long. She's going to tell me. She's going to tell me how long she has been in this communication world. I am probably just a baby. Who better introduce themselves than the person themselves? I have here with me Dr. Yuly, and I'm going to turn to her in a moment. Do well to subscribe to Beaver's Avenue if you haven't. I help you level up your communication skills, your branding, and confidence. Now, let's hear from Dr. Yuly. Hi, Dr. Yuly.
Hi, Beeba. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So, my name is Dr. Julie Snyder-Yuly, and I am an associate professor of communication studies at Marshall University. And I have been teaching public speaking for about 8 years, along with communication and leadership and various other communication classes since about, oh my gosh, 2008. So, God knows how long. It's been a long time.
8 years is it's a lot. So you do know something that we are still yet to learn. And on that note, since we are talking about nervousness, I had my students put on these sticky notes what they feel or the questions they have about nervousness. And so you're going to use some of these questions for this conversation. It's obviously not an interview, it is a conversation. The first thing that I want to ask you is, since you've been teaching public speaking for so long, do you still get nervous at some point?
Yes.
And when you do get nervous, what do you do?
It kind of depends on the situation, right? So I'm nervous just sitting to talk to you because this is the first time I have done this in a really long time. But there's a couple of things that I do depending on the situation. If it's a speech or something that I can prepare for a long time, practice. Practice is such an important thing to do. You're the expert, and being confident with what you're going to say is so helpful. Otherwise, sometimes it's kind of mental techniques, deep breathing, right? Um, Taking a moment, taking a pause, and also realizing what you're doing a lot of times is not life changing. We always said kittens are not going to die when you're giving a public speech. And I know that sounds really terrible, but you have to think about that. It's like nothing bad is going to happen. You're going to, especially in a classroom, it's like you're going to get up there among your peers who are all just as nervous as you are. So take a breath, practice before you go in, deep breathe throughout, pause, be prepared, and know that you are the expert.
All right. So from what you said, what I understand is that nervousness can come in different ways and it depends on the situation.
Absolutely. Yes.
So when you're new to the situation, you're probably going to get nervous because you're not used to it.
Yes.
Okay. So we've learned on this channel, which I believe all my subscribers should remember, that we talked about the adrenaline surge, which is when you encounter things that you're not used to, then your nerves start racking up or you get nervous or that.
Yes.
Yeah. Personally, when I started teaching public speaking too, I would say to myself that these kids deserve better. Like, I am not the best person to teach them public speaking because I am also very nervous. But with time, I got used to the fact that I have these people in front of me all the time. And so I'm like, It's just something that I have to do. And then I got used to it, and now I don't get nervous as often. But when I don't prepare, I do get nervous.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. So the first question that I have here is, how can I not be nervous doing something at the first time, but then the next time that I do it, I get nervous from nowhere?
I think like you said earlier, we're always going to be nervous the first time we do anything, whether it is speaking publicly, whether it's jumping out of an airplane. Um, each time you do it, it gets better. You get a little bit less nervous, but some things are just really scary naturally for us. Public speaking is one of those things that I think there's always going to be this element of nervousness because you can't prepare for everything. Right. So I think just being, keep practicing, keep doing it. Use the opportunities that you have to speak in different venues, right? It's not always about speaking in front of a classroom. Sometimes you're just speaking in front of your peers at a meeting, talking to your boss. Think about what you do in those situations, and that will help a little bit. But you're never, I think that I have spoken at conferences, teach, I still get nervous. I'm going to be speaking at a conference and I'm going to be nervous when I get up there, even though I know I'm going to be well prepared. But that keeps me a little bit on the edge so that I'm excited to present.
When you are actually up there talking to people and then you get nervous, how do you not allow people to see it? How do you hide it? Because you don't want them to see that you're nervous, right?
Yeah. So again, context is such a big thing. But so if I am speaking, one of the things that's kind of silly, but depending on the situation that I'm doing, if I am speaking at like a conference or something, I try to find out if there is a podium or a table. And if there is, that's really, really helpful because you can kind of hide yourself behind there. But my nervousness is usually my knees shake really bad. And so I dress for that. I usually will wear like a dress or a skirt so you can't see that. Moving is another really good way, and I don't think people think about that a lot because we get up there in front of a crowd and we're just really stiff and we wanna give a speech, but actually moving a little bit helps. Not doing this, but maybe taking a couple steps, at different points. And then also just our gestures, right? And I'm trying really hard not to be a hand talker right now, but managing that because when people are really nervous, they do this a lot more. But thinking about that in a little bit more controlled movements and being thoughtful about what you're going to do. And sometimes people are going to know you're nervous. Sometimes your voice is going to crack. And you just have to remember they're not judging you. They're not up there to judge you. They're up there to learn from you.
That's one thing I always tell my students when they are coming to give speech in the class, because I mean, it's something they have to do.
Yeah.
But I always tell them that I'm not there to judge you for the perfections. I just want to see that you are improving, you're learning something. And you're right, because I speak with my hand all the time. But also, if I don't move my hand is going to shake. So I would rather move it than let you see that it's shaking. So if I move my hands around, you're not going to see that my hands are shaking. And that's one thing I do often. And I like moving. And that's to say that we all get nervous, but we just have to push through it.
Yes, we do. We do push through it, and it doesn't change, but it does get better. Every time you do it, every time you practice, it gets a little bit better.
I believe you've already mentioned or said something on this already, but I want us to talk about this again. It says, do you have anything specific you do before a speech to be more confident? And you did mention that your knees shake, so you have to dress up for it.
I think always dressing for the part is really, really important. So when you're going to get up there, part of having confidence and not being nervous is dressing for it. So think of it as something important that you're doing. So when you're going to get up and speak just a little bit more formally, just nicely, I think that helps with your confidence. Deep breaths before you get up and speak. And I know I can't say this enough, practice. One of the reasons that people get so nervous is that they don't practice. And so the first time they're giving their speech, is in front of students. So they haven't practiced in front of a mirror or their computer or their friends. And I think that is such an important thing to do because those are people that can give you feedback and let you know. And especially if you can do it in front of a video camera, it's really great. And today with our phones and our computers, you should be able to practice that way and you can see what you're doing.
Right. Because I am that kind of person who used to hate my voice. I say this YouTube about 5 years ago, and anytime that I didn't start with this theme, I started just making lifestyle vlogs. And then anytime that I heard my roommate or my friend watching my video, I would just walk out or just block my ears because I don't want to hear myself. I'm like, no, I sound so bad. But what I did was I watched a couple of YouTubers and then I'm like, I like the way this person sounds.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to try to learn to sound the way they sound. Not that I hate how I sound, but there are certain things that I think that I should work on. So I think that what you said is right, because if you watch yourself, then you're able to tell that this is the part that I don't like, then you're able to work on that.
Yeah.
That's right. What was your biggest fear that caused you to be nervous at some point in your life?
This is really dumb. I'm afraid of alligators. And I finally did a alligator watching tour in New Orleans to try, but it still freaked me out. I know that's a really dumb one, but it's irrational. But I think I was really lucky with communication. Is that I was on the speech team in high school, and I had such good people around me, and we were so supportive of each other. I think that's huge with something like speaking, is knowing that the people that are there to support you, not judge you, and that so speaking was never a big one of my fears, so it's always really silly things like sharks and alligators and clowns.
So there's this student that shared with me today that during the first day of class, I asked them to write down their fears of on public speaking and how they feel about it. And then today we went back to address the same thing, and so that they put back how they feel about it now after 5 weeks. And this student says that she was good in high school. She was a very good speaker because she was living with these people every day. And so she was very familiar with them. But now this is the case where she just sees them once in a while.
Yeah.
So she doesn't think she can ever overcome that nervousness. What would you tell that person?
Kind of want to say that's life because you never know what the situation that you're going to be in. But also, it's important, I think, for students is to try to get to know their classmates as well. I don't want to change our topic, but we know with like social media and everything, we've kind of isolated ourselves a lot. And that's a huge problem because then when we don't know how to interact when we sit down and in a classroom, and you've probably seen it that you'll walk in and all of your students are on their phones or on their computers and not talking to each other. You can't do anything about that before class, but I think really telling people to try to get to know each other, try to talk to each other. And as a professor and as an instructor, you can do that in your class and that does help them. But we are always going to be, it's like in a different context, going to give a presentation to a bunch of people that I don't know in a few weeks. And then in a couple months, I might be doing it again with different people. So that's what a lot of public speaking is like.
Everything that I'm going to say here is just like everything that I tell my students. So I would go to class and see all of them, just everyone is on their phones like you mentioned. And then I said that when you have a question, who do you first run to? And then they just say you. You just send me an email because I'm your professor. I'm like, don't you think there are certain things that you can just ask your peers before you ask me? And then I was like, yeah, but we don't know them. I don't even have their contact. Then I said, it's because you don't know them.
Yeah.
You don't even get to know them.
Yeah.
And then from then, anytime I get to class, they are talking to each other. They have so much to talk about, but there are still people who would just rather be on their phones and talk to.
Yeah.
So, and I'm thinking it's just about you being ready.
Yeah.
You have to tell yourself that you're ready to get to know them. You're ready to overcome your fears. If you're not ready, if you don't find a purpose to move on from where you are now, then I don't think you can make a change.
Well, I think you're kind of right. It seems like it's more afraid of getting to know other people than actually speaking. So, and I think that's part of it is anytime we speak, that tells you something about that person, right? And I think people are really, really shy about wanting people to know anything about them. And I know it's kind of silly, but that's a great way for people to get to know you and see what you're interested in when you do those kind of presentations.
Now, the question says, and this is actually what our theme is, The person says, how can you deal with nervousness? Do you have to overcome it?
I don't know if it's overcoming it. I think just working with it. Like I said, I think it's always important to have a little bit of nervousness because I think that's what keeps you sharp. When you get so comfortable with something, a lot of times you don't do it as well. Right. I think of if you have hobbies, you're always trying to get better. And I think the same thing with speaking. It's gonna make you nervous, and it should make you a little bit nervous, but that shouldn't make you less confident, and I think that's it. You can be confident and still be nervous. So I would say you're gonna lessen it over time, but it's always gonna be there in some form, and sometimes I don't think we realize it because we think of really obvious things, like I'm shaking or my voice is shaking. I know when I'm nervous, like, we have little nervous tics and habits that we do. I pick up my nails. And it's like, I think I'm perfectly calm, and I'll look down and I've, like, scratched my nails and my fingers all up. I'll see other people, it's just they're twitching around or they're doing something, so I think it's always there. I think it's just a matter of managing it the best you can and being aware of the things that you do.
Right, you're right. And I think I needed to hear that from you because I see myself that, okay, everybody will see me, even my family, my parents, my siblings think that, oh, Habiba is just outspoken. She will speak anywhere, anytime. And they think that I'm so confident that I never get nervous. And sometimes it's just like, no, that's you having too much expectations from me. Or if anyone who watches me online or on YouTube would think that I am so good at speaking. Yes, I am good, but I still get nervous. But when I think of that, it makes me question myself that do I really have to be nervous if I'm doing this on social media? But I think listening to what you said then, right, I can be nervous.
Yeah. Yeah, and is it because, it's like you never know the outcomes, right? So there should always be a little bit of nervousness there, and because you always do also want to put your best foot forward, right? So you always want to be your best, and there's always that little voice in your head that's like, "Oh, what if, what if, what if?" So you're always gonna be nervous, but that doesn't mean you can't be confident, and that doesn't mean you're not gonna do a great job. So
All right. So how do you overcome the mental aspect of it?
practice is the biggest one. I said that a lot, but especially public speaking, practice is huge, and you just have to do it. Um I think it's just different for some people. Some people really, really struggle with it, but I think trying to open yourself up to new things, right? So starting simple, talk to the people that you're in class with, right? Slowly get to know them. Talk to the people that you see on campus and in your communities or wherever you're at. Really, you have to start little and you will get better when it gets bigger and bigger audiences. But if you're not willing to take those little steps, you're gonna have a really hard time overcoming those bigger obstacles. But mentally, yeah, just people, it's like we're so quick to judge or think that somebody's judging us, and a lot of times they're not. They're nervous too, and so I think that just kind of open yourself up a little bit. And I know it's hard. We said social media already. It's like it's so easy to be negative and online, but people aren't that way in person. And so I think that really opening up to that and knowing that it's going to be okay.
Then that everything we discussed comes down to me taking out this question because the question says, how long did it take to learn to overcome nervousness? But I think with our discussion now is like it doesn't have a time frame.
Yeah.
It's always there.
Yeah.
And then you just have to learn to control it when it happens.
Yeah, you just have to you keep at it, keep doing your best. Every time you do something, you get better at it and you learn from it. And there might be a point where it's like for teaching, for me, I've done it for long enough now that it's not a big deal, but people probably don't realize it's like in my office before class, I'm always going through my notes. I'm always trying to prepare and looking at what I wrote. Um, and I'm not really nervous when I teach, but I always just want to do the best that I can. And so I do worry. It's like, oh, did I give people the best information? So it's always going to be there. And I think I'm a good teacher and I know what I'm doing now, but that's always going to be there. And I think it's okay for people to realize that being nervous is not a bad thing. Being nervous, I think, is a really good thing because
Really natural
it's very natural. But also think of it instead of thinking of it as being nervous, think of it as being excited that you're going to get to share something really important with other people. You're going to get to share a part of you with somebody else and let them know more about you. So flipping that idea from nervousness to excitement helps a little bit as well.
Reframing is the key.
Yes.
We like that. So, what are some common habits that you see your public speaking class, your students in your public speaking class? What do you see, even in our classes? Yeah, and because I know that sometimes when we have presentations, I know that I am doing this like it's cool, but I still get nervous when we have to present in class.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Things that I see, oh gosh, the dancers, there's always the people that are like, those make me laugh. It's like, that's always, it's like, because they're trying so hard. I think it's like, but you don't realize you're doing that. Um, and I know that I do this sometimes when I teach, if I have visuals, referring to the visuals and looking a lot at the visuals instead of out at the audience. They do that. How people read from their note cards, if they have note cards, it's like they're always kind of trying to hide their faces. Other things, you do like see people like tapping on things sometimes or leaning against the bulletin board or a podium. And so, yeah. So I think that, yeah. So I think probably the most important thing is just being up in front of, up in front of the audience and a little bit. And we all do that. And I think we're said to teaching is different from presenting, right? So sometimes I know as teachers we'll do that. We might sit on a desk or we lean up, but if I'm giving a formal presentation, I wanna be sitting in a chair, standing up in front of people. But yeah, you see all kinds of things. People, and I think I've done it a couple of times. It's like, I feel like you're very aware of what's going on, and I think a couple times I'm, like, touching my face and stuff. Is there hair there? Is there something? So I see a lot of people that have, like, these kinda habits when they're speaking.
Yeah,
So
lip in the hair.
within the hair, adjusting things, and those are okay, and there's not, it's like, unless it's really, really continual, you don't notice it as much, or you get, it's like you look beyond it. If they're what they're saying is really good, I think you often look beyond some of those things.
Okay, I have another question for you. This is a scenario. Let's just say you are already on stage, you're already in front of the class teaching or doing anything, and then you start shaking. What would you do?
That's a hard question because I don't know that I can't think that that's ever necessarily happened to me, but I have lost my train of thought before. I think the biggest thing is just to stop and take a breath and regroup. If you have notes or something, take a look at your notes, but try not to draw attention to it. I think that's the biggest thing that people immediately will do. It's like, oh my gosh, I've lost my spot, right? That tells you something. But if you just take, people just like kind of take pause, take a breath, look down, and then continue on. And it's hard with the shaking. There are some people that might really have some serious anxiety that it's like that's beyond what I would know what to do. But I think usually if you've made a mistake or you've stumbled, just taking a pause, taking a breath, it's like, give me a moment, or if you're having the luxury of having water, take a drink of water. So, but I think all the just little things, and it comes down to how much do you know stuff and how much are you prepared? Because I think one of the things that you've probably seen, maybe even in your classes, is that students are so dependent on their note cards or what they have.
Right.
And something happens and they've got their note cards out of order and they're like, oh no, I've got this out of order. So really walking up in front, making sure your stuff is in order, making sure you have practiced, knowing that you might get a little bit nervous or you're going to say something or somebody's going to look at you or it's going to catch your attention. But yeah, just taking a pause, breathing, deep breath in, and then continuing. Right. So, yeah.
Now I'm learning that I can be nervous when I am. I can feel free to be nervous. It's a good thing. It's just about me learning how I can control it.
Yeah. And I think there's one of the things too that students can do and that you can share with students. There's a lot of really nice breathing techniques and things on Zoom that really do help calm people down. So sometimes it's like a really deep inhale in and then a long breath out. And so those types of things really do help calm your nerves before things. And that's a good idea to use it as well.
Mhm. Because up until the very first time that I told you that I want to do this with you, anytime I think of it, I get nervous. This morning I was like, I am prepared, but this is the first time. So I don't know how to feel about that, but I'm very nervous. But when we got here, I've actually not read any of the questions that I put up here because all the questions are just coming up as we talk. As you said multiple times, practicing is really good and being prepared is good.
It's probably the single most important thing is practicing, because when you get up there, you're the expert at that moment, right? Show people that you know, and it's okay if you stumble, if you misspeak, if you do those things. It's like most of the time, it's like we're not going to notice. So I was telling my students, it's like just to move on. Sometimes if you're not sure how to say a word, practice how you think it is. Just say it with confidence, right? So yeah, and just keep going, because really this is public any type of public speaking. The world's not going to end if you make a mistake. In our classes, like, public speaking is about getting better, and you said that right at the beginning. It is to see you go from here to here, 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 and I think that's what students really need to understand. We don't expect perfection ever. We're not perfect. We get up and we stumble and we have typos and forget what we're saying to you in classes, and they need to realize that's not what we're judging you or evaluating you on. We really wanna see you grow. We wanna see if you know how to organize something. If your voice is shaking, we might note that your voice is shaking, but I don't usually discredit anyone because they have a shaky voice. So, yeah.
You're right, because public speaking is like an ever-evolving world. You would never be the experts. They are experts, but they are still learning to be better.
Yeah.
You always have room to do better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, you should grow. Now, bringing all this to an end, we are just trying to wrap this up. I know that you've mentioned multiple tips, but I want you to make it like a simple wrap up as a takeaway for anyone who wants to learn something or someone who missed everything that we discussed. So what are some tips you want to give to someone who wants to learn to control their nervousness?
So I think I would say there's a couple of tips that I would give you. First and foremost, be prepared for whatever the situation is. So if it's a speaking situation, be prepared. Know, practice your speech, or if it's an interview, practice your interview questions. Any of those types of things, practice. And don't just stand there and do it by yourself. Practice with the computer, practice with a friend. That's really, really important. Feel confident, do your research, know yourself, be confident in yourself. Before you go into that, really take some good deep breaths or do some practice breathing exercises. And that's probably some of the most important things. Like I said, practice is so important in all of these things, and I know there's some situations where if you're going to jump out of an airplane, maybe you can't practice that as much and you might have to relate to the breathing. So, but I think too, especially in this context, right? For you going to an interview, research practice questions. What are they going to be asking you? If you were if it's going to be speaking at a meeting or something, what's on the agenda? Know your audience if at all possible. And I know that's an important thing too. I always tell my students, it's like when you're giving a speech, your audience is your students here. So what do you want those students to know? Why is it important for them? So make it relevant as well. But yeah, but I really be confident that you are the expert because you really are in those situations.
All right. Thank you so much for doing this with me. I have learned so much, and now I can tell myself and feel free to get nervous when I have to be, because I think that I put so much pressure on myself thinking that I am the public speaker who is in charge of Beaver's Avenue, so I have to be that person all the time. But now, listening to everything that you said, I know that if I'm nervous, it is normal. I don't have to be hard on myself because it's natural. It's a natural feeling, and I actually need it to get better at everything that I'm doing. And I hope that everyone who watched this video also learned something. And whatever you learned, or whatever tip that you learned that you think is going to stick with you, tell me that in the comment section. And don't forget to subscribe and share this video to your friends, anyone who needs a push with their communication and their nervousness. Again, thank you, Dr. Yuly, for doing this with me. And I didn't get nervous while we were speaking because you made it very lively. I'm like, was it going to be the professor and student kind of vibe? But no, you made it lively. And I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You know me, I'm not.
Are we going to have you here again?
I would love to come again.
Great.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It was fun. It was really fun. It's much more fun to talk about this in this kind of situation sometimes because it is nerve-wracking, right? When you're trying to tell your students not to be nervous because they're all just looking at you.
Yeah. I was trying to do that this afternoon and they were just looking at me like, why do you think I shouldn't be nervous? Like, yeah. I'm not saying don't be nervous, but learn how to control it.
Yeah, just control it. Just breathe. Know things. Thank you.
Thank you. And do subscribe to Beeba's Avenue. We are growing bigger and better. Tell a friend to tell another friend that Beeba's Avenue is helping you level up your communication skills, your branding, and confidence. Until next time, I will see you in the next video. Bye.